Radio 3 with Mirror Man. 12 minutes past 12 into Monday afternoon. I think one of the greatest sort of hotbeds of stories and talent and histories and futures, hopefully, is very often the school. And one school in Hong Kong that seems to really love getting together its pupils from many, many years back, all for all sorts of different events, big reunions, of course, King George V School, or KG5, as we all call it. They have got a huge alumni week coming up in a couple of weeks' time. There's guys coming from all over the world, and of course tons of people from Hong Kong. And to tell us all about it, I want to welcome Mike Bentley, who's one of the alumni committee guys, and obviously an old boy. How are you? Don't mean you're an old boy, but...
Absolutely not, Nick. Yeah, great to be here.
How are you? Welcome along. This is awesome. Well done so far. Tell us what's going to be happening, you know.
Well, there's nearly a week of events, something for everybody, whether you're old, young, whether you just left the school last year. Yeah. Obviously, there's hundreds of people in Hong Kong who went to KG5 and are very excited and love the school. And one of the things I've always said is that when you meet old KG5ers of whatever age, it's like your second family. You have this instant bond and rapport with them. You all grew up in Hong Kong or spent part of your life in Hong Kong. And we all know the magic of Hong Kong.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I certainly know there's all sorts of people from different areas of life, sportsmen, scientists, whatever. The musical history is really quite big there. Of course, Anders, our mate who works on here sometimes, and there seem to be, in that era, a ton of musicians, a ton of musical stars. What other kinds of people are we talking about?
Well, we've had everything from sports people, of course, Dermot
Reeve,
who
my very first interview.
Really?
In 1995.
Right? Yeah. He came to the last reunion, which was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's down for this one, but he usually tries to make an appearance. And, of course, we have people in the hotel business, other musicians. Michael Hutchins went to KG5 for a little while from Inks.
Yes, yeah.
You know, whether people went their whole life through KG5 or spent a year or 6 months, they all seem to call themselves KG5ers.
They do. That's really interesting you bring that up, because I think the word expatriate is kind of diluted these days. But back when, expatriate really did mean that thing. Dad was perhaps a company man or whatever, and they'd expatriate you from the UK and chuck you here. So do you remember when you were there, were a lot of your mates coming and going, or were they sticking around?
It was really interesting, Nick. They're all stayers. We all went through school, and many of us, Island School was founded halfway through when we were in KG5.
Oh, yeah.
And even though we lived on Hong Kong Island, we refused to leave KG5 for Island School. Of course, I've got a lot of mates who went to Island School.
You're going?
No, in those days we had the free choice, so some did swap over, but for most of us who stayed, we have no regrets. We absolutely loved it and are very proud of the history of KG5 and our school days.
And don't forget, I suppose, in those days, I think the military looked after their own sons and daughters.
They did. They had St George's School on Nathan Road,
Well, also, there wasn't it down where Kowloon Tong MTR big building is now? That was a military school.
Actually, that was the one. So it wasn't Nathan Road, absolutely. And now that's the Australian school.
That's the Australian school.
Yes, and I'm actually Australian, one of the few in KG5 in those days.
Yeah.
But we did all our schooling here. You know, a lot of civil servants. My dad was in the Crown Lands Department. So we had government flats and all went to KG5, and it was a great time to grow up in Hong Kong. But it's always been a great time to grow up in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about school days. I mean, not everybody has fond memories of school. You guys seem to really look back with real fondness. I think you're very lucky, quite frankly.
Yes, I completely agree. I speak to other people from overseas who didn't have perhaps the blessings of KG5, and some of them don't speak too highly of their school days, were glad to leave, but most of the people I meet who went to KG5, obviously not everybody, but most of them have some really good memories of it.
Good. Why don't you run us through a little bit of what's going on? Now, one of the reasons Mike is here today is not just to tell us a few stories, but, you know, if you are one of those people that went there and you don't know about this, or someone in your family is, right? That's what you're looking for.
Absolutely, yeah, because we've got many hundreds coming from overseas who have paid, got their hotels booked, are very excited. The Facebook traffic, the email traffic, they just cannot wait to link up. But of course there is hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of younger people who've left school in the last 2 years, 10 years, who are living in Hong Kong and may not be fully aware of the events, and we would love them to join in some of the events.
Well, I want you to tell us in just a second. Do you remember, like, your pals from school? Have most of them stuck around, or is there still a good percentage here?
Yeah, there's a huge number still here, and it was I came back to work in the 80s and found that of my upper 6th year, 80% were back in Hong Kong at that time working, which really amazed me. And it was actually how the former Pupils Association, now alumni, was founded over a couple of curries and a beer, as some great things are founded. And we arranged the first ever football match against the school team, which were having...
Did you win?
I think we lost, but... We are having a football match, we're having a sports afternoon where there'll be netball and hockey for the girls, football for the guys, a few drinks afterwards in the staff room. We have a gala opening at the Mariners Club, a lot of famous places we'll be going to in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I'll get into that in just a second. Was it weird the first time you met a lot of people? I've never been to a reunion, ever. What was it like for you? You know, are you still the same bloke you were when you were at school? I often wonder this.
Well, in my personal experience, the guys at 17 or 18 years old is the way they are today.
I suppose.
Whether it's 10 years, 20 years later. And the ones you really got on with, there was one chap who's coming to this reunion, and he came to 2 reunions ago. We haven't seen each other for 20 years, and we just
the same,
it was
isn't it?
exactly the same.
That's what some people say is the test of a good friend. One, you don't have to see him all the time, but when you do, you just pick up where you left off.
Absolutely, but I think, yes, agree, and we also seem to just pick up with KG5ers too. I mean, I can meet the KG5 who left last year and we just all get on so well, and I think that's unique, and I don't think it's just the alumni committee, it's the whole group of kids.
It's the whole vibe. I mean, at certain times in Hong Kong's history, it's probably a very special time to be here if you're a teenager. Think of all the damage you could do.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Why don't you run me through just a few bits and pieces? They've got a website here. What's the website?
Yeah, the website is KG5AAreunions.com.
That's the one. You'll find it. It's all up there.
If you just Google KG5 Reunions, the website will usually come up first. All the events are on there, and you do need to register online. It's the only way to keep track of it.
They don't do this every year. Is it every few years, really? The last one was about 4 years ago. I think it has to be that way, doesn't it? Keeps it a bit special.
It does. They have many reunions in other cities of the world, but our theme of this one is called Made in Hong Kong.
Go on then, tell us what's going on.
So there's a gala opening at the Mariners Club, as I mentioned. Then there's different events like the school tour. There's a sports afternoon. We're having the Tap Mun Grass Island tour, Kaduri Farm tour, which people are interested in. A couple of junk trips, the traditional Hong Kong junk trip. Llama Island seafood dinner, which is a huge night. Culminating really on Friday the 25th, when we are having the gala dinner at the Hong Kong Football Club. That's, in previous reunions, always been a completely sold-out event, and really a highlight for a lot of people.
Are there many people that haven't been back to Hong Kong for a long, long time?
Certainly, if past experience from the last reunion, some of them hadn't been back for 50
Since
years.
They were kids.
And some of them, some of the elderly ones came. In saying that, there's some that haven't been back for 3 years or 4 years, and they're coming back to Hong Kong to link up with their friends who are back here working. So there's actually all ages, all types of people.
I'm just looking at some of your trips here. It's quite interesting. You're talking about places like Tap Mun and Kaduri Farm. I mean, it's just funny. This is going to be, wow, I haven't seen that place since 19 whatever. And there's always some magic in going back to it. Or is there? Because some people say nostalgia belongs in the past. But this is a whole load of fun for you guys. Once more, the website, KGVAA Reunions.
KGV, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
AA Reunions.com.
They're just trying to get the word out and catch up with some old mates. Well, look, thanks for coming along. If people want to get in touch with you, just go there or what?
On the website, absolutely.
And when's it all actually happening?
It starts on the Tuesday the 22nd of March, so a couple of weeks.
All right then, Mike Bentley, cheers. Thanks a lot. Best of luck and have fun.